Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, May 30th, 2017. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Cuba has continued to be an extraordinary partner to the peoples of SVG, and all must be done to preserve this relationship. That's according to Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves as he delivered a lecture today at the Community College highlighting the history behind SVG's relationship with the Spanish-speaking Caribbean country, as well as the efforts it has made in relation to the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Speaking on the formalizing of diplomatic relations with Cuba in 1992, PM Gonsalves praised the efforts of former Prime Minister Sir James Mitchell in asserting this country's sovereignty in the midst of political pressure to isolate Cuba.
To appreciate Sir James's bold, courageous move, it is important to recount a few episodes of active political pressure on CARICOM governments in the 1990s to toe the American line on Cuba. I want us to retrace the history broadly, including the context. Notice, I'm giving him credit. I'm saying it's not a seismic event as the one in 1972, 20 years earlier, but still, even though it was taking place in a context where the arguments were shifting against the United States in respect of the isolation of Cuba politically and diplomatically, still the US was acting in certain ways to pressure the Caribbean countries not to engage Cuba.
Speaking of this country's shared history with Cuba, PM Gonsalves called for a greater understanding of the historical struggles of the Cuban people, as well as for Vincentians to do all to preserve the relationship between the two countries.
And it's important that we put it properly so we understand, because there are people who will say, I shouldn't be doing this work for them, you know. I'm talking politically. They should be doing this. But I'm interested in history. And I'm interested in us all, of whatever political persuasion, strengthen and fortify the relationships between two countries which are part of our Caribbean civilization and where we have so much in common.
Dr. Gonsalves added that through Cuba's continued efforts politically, socially and economically, it has proven itself to be an exemplary partner to SVG, all whilst showing great respect for this nation's sovereignty and independence.
Cuba has been an exemplary partner for our country. Moreover, Cuba has been an interlocutor on our behalf. I know Fidel has spoken to Venezuela, to Chavez to help us, to Ecuador, to Rafael Correa. In all of this, Fidel and Raul have provided sterling leadership of the highest quality. We thank them and we thank the Cuban government and people. The bonds between our two countries are unbreakable. We are components, we are active contingents of our Caribbean civilization, and we are resolved to uplift further our civilization and all humanity. I expect that both our countries will consolidate, deepen, and broaden ever more perfectly our relations of solidarity and love over the next 25 years.
Offering a platform to enable the sharing of information as well as networking among regional and local meteorologists and climatologists, a series of meetings formerly known as the Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum, CARICOF, got underway here yesterday, Monday the 29th, at the Beachcombers Hotel. On day 2 of the forum today, local and regional media personnel were the beneficiaries of training aimed at sensitizing them on their role in sharing weather and climate forecasts, as well as building awareness to climate change. We hear more about today's proceedings in this report by Nikita Tony.
Providing forecasts and outlooks for the upcoming wet or hurricane season, the Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum, CARICOF 2017, has this year reached out to a number of individuals believed to be at the forefront in disseminating weather or climate information, as well as building climate change awareness. And so, earlier today, Tuesday, May 31st, media personnel from across the region gathered to participate in a training workshop where various scientific and journalistic concepts were taught to better enable the dissemination of weather and climate information. Delivering welcoming remarks at the brief opening ceremony, Director of Airports Corsell Robinson thanked all stakeholders for selecting SVG to host this year's forum. She noted that the training workshop was indeed an important initiative as it aids in tackling various issues such as miscommunication.
The amount of information out there, many times it is skewed in a wrong direction and it is not accurate. The training session is therefore very critical because it allows for the improvement in the communication between stakeholders, and improved communication can go a very long way in determining outcomes and in dealing with events which have a great impact on our economic activities.
In his address, Minister of Agriculture Saboto Caesar urged the participants to take full advantage of the event as it forms part of a regional effort to keep abreast of weather and climate conditions or forecasts, as well as addressing climate change.
To build a platform for policymakers to be informed scientifically for the betterment and the empowerment of our peoples. As we are having a highly technical period of training, the persons who are going to benefit from your expertise, many of them you may never see, and certainly they are not in this room today for the most part.
Communication specialist at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology, Shireen Cuthbert, outlined that with media houses standing as a support group for sharing information with the public, it is essential that there is a healthy conversation between parties to create a more effective communication process.
Helping regional media build their capacity in how they report on climate and weather issues and stories across the region. That's really going to help how the two professions communicate with each other in a very practical, direct way, having everybody in the same room. And the outcome of that is to really help both professions better understand each other.
One of the facilitators at the training workshop, certified broadcast meteorologist John Morales, pointed out that the exercise will prove to not only be beneficial to meteorologists and media personnel present, but also the public in the long run.
We'll talk to each other, which is very important in the dissemination of this information. There should be a better understanding amongst yourselves. So the idea is that we'll introduce some basic concepts of meteorology today, followed by some basic concepts of climate and climate change today. Then we'll talk about how far we've come in the evolution of weather and climate information and how that gets to the public.
Some 20 media personnel were present at today's training workshop, which was facilitated by Mr. Morales, as well as certified broadcast meteorologist Irene Sands. The group of trainees was given the opportunity to gain information on basic meteorology, weather and climate concepts, along with scientific and journalistic methods. There was also briefing on the reality of climate change and the important role played by the media in disseminating the relevant information. Keeping in line with the ever-growing developments in technology, especially in social media, participants were also taught how to use the scientific theory to accurately and effectively relay information, along with how to upkeep their digital credibility and staying true to their purpose. It is hoped that the knowledge gained at today's proceeding will enable the media to be better informed, to give information on a day-to-day basis to the public on weather and climate conditions and climate change. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.
Minister of Health Luke Brown is of the view that the modern medical complex in Georgetown should have already been completed and operational. Minister Brown, who was speaking on Boom FM this morning, said that he came into his position and met the facility unfinished and said it is about time the project be completed.
You know, there's a private provider of hemodialysis, particularly, and we could talk more about whether or not the provisions which are made there are adequate and other matters. But it is the view of the Ministry of Health that it is a problem that has to be solved, and it's a problem that has to be solved with great urgency. So we're not dilly-dally. And you spoke about the modern medical complex as well. I accept that the modern medical complex has taken too long to be brought to completion. But I could say that based on the most recent updates that have been provided to me, the project is expected to finish in August. The work on the construction and fittings for that project is supposed to be done by the end of August.
The health minister pointed out that the completion of the modern medical complex must be addressed with great urgency, as finance has already been allocated to aid in its completion.
Funds for the completion of the project have been provided. And if you look at the estimates, you would see that there is a provision in the estimates for the completion of the project this year. On top of that, there was a request for some additional funds because of some unforeseen expenses, and that too has been met with the favor of the cabinet, simply because we understand the importance of giving the people who have this particular problem hope and a chance at life, and a chance of prolonging life. It has been my contention always that to be diagnosed with kidney failure does not have to be a death sentence. People could go on and live pretty decent lives, notwithstanding that.
On the issue of providing dialysis for kidney patients, Minister Brown stated that many Vincentians cannot afford the cost of treatment and that the government subsidizes the cost for Vincentians at some $100,000 a year.
The ministry subsidizes the cost of dialysis for several people in St. Vincent at the facility that is offering dialysis services now.
This is Health Solutions?
That facility. The ministry currently is subsidizing scores of people who go there. But the truth is, notwithstanding our best efforts at subsidizing this, and I think I could probably ask the folks in the ministry to give me an idea of the figure, but I think per quarter it is by far the largest expense by way of medical assistance.
Approximately how much, Minister? Approximately how much?
I think it's probably about $20,000 per quarter. That works out to probably about $100,000 a year. I mean,
so that's the cost of one of the vehicles that one of your ministries have running around the place. Do you think do you think that is enough to save a life?
But that's not all that we're doing. First of all, there's a multi-pronged approach to dealing with any healthcare issue. We provide a subsidy for this while we seek to be able to provide the services publicly. We also look to put into place a program for the prevention of the development of these sort of chronic conditions in the first place.
The Social Services Department, as well as the RSVG Police Force, has been commended for their swift response to reports of child abuse. The commendation came from educator Philbert John as he spoke on WeFM's Issue at Hand program as the panel discussed the controversy surrounding the Lockhart family of Beckway. John stated that in his opinion, the response was not an overaction, but one which was necessary.
Even if some people claim that they overreacted, in my view they did not overreact. And some people claim that there are other families living in questionable conditions. How come people don't report them? Well, report them and let us see what happened. And
living where? In
St. Vincent. And I know from my own experience that whenever you report an issue to the social welfare, they respond immediately.
They respond. They do follow up. From
my own experience as an educator, dealing with young people, dealing with children and so on, I've never been let down. We have never been let down by social services, social welfare, whenever we bring a matter to their attention. Okay, and I think they were doing a good job, and maybe had it not been for their intervention, things could have been worse. That's just me speculating. I have no evidence to support it, just me talking from my instinct.
John further encouraged members of the public to call upon the authorities, such as the police force, as well as social services, if they suspect issues of child abuse and neglect.
At the same time, again, you have to look at this as a broader context. Again, how we treat children especially, and the willingness of the authorities to intervene whenever there's a report of any kind of neglect or abuse. I know in the past we talk about the authorities turning a blind eye and not responding effectively, but in this case, I would applaud them for the manner in which they responded. And let us hope in cases in St. Vincent where we observe or suspect abuse and neglect, we bring in the authorities.
Local police are investigating the circumstances leading to the death of 16-year-old Darren Glasgow, whose body washed ashore earlier this morning at the Big Sand Beach in Sandy Bay. Glasgow's body was discovered at about 7:35 a.m. by villagers who notified the authorities. According to the police, Glasgow's father, Neil Cato, stated that he last saw his son about 5:30 a.m. on Sunday when he told him that he was going to do some work in the area nearby where they lived at Orange Hill. An autopsy is expected to be carried out on the body tomorrow to ascertain the cause of death. Welcome back. Thousands of actors auditioned for the role of Oprah Winfrey, and Vincentian Nicole Hendrickson, a former Miss SVG, came out on top. According to a news release from the National Cable Television Network in the USA, Reels is producing the series Broke and Famous. Nicole will be playing the role of Oprah Winfrey when she had interviewed superstar singer Toni Braxton after the public found out that after all her fame, she was broke. The release further stated that the next day the same casting company called to ask if Nicole would be interested in the role of 50 Cent's grandmother, Beulah Jackson, who was only 38 years old when 50 Cent moved in with her at age 8. Hendrickson won the Miss SVG pageant in 1991. Aiming to leave their mark on the mass component of Vincy Mass 2017, the Metrosynth High Voltage Mass Band tells SVG-TV News they're ready to take it to the streets Carnival Tuesday, July 11th. With about 80% of their 2017 production finished, the mass tent believes they have what it takes to take the title of Band of the Year. We hear more on the band's 2017 production from Nikita Tony.
Giving you a somewhat history lesson while at the same time entertaining you, the Metrosynth High Voltage Mass Band is ready for Vincy Mass 2017 as they give you This Is Politics. Having been involved in mass production here in SVG for the last 15 years, band leader Kingsley Collis referred to Vincy Mass 2016 as their best year yet. With this in mind, Collis is of the opinion that their 2017 production, dubbed This Is Politics, which comprises some 10 sections, will be a major hit.
Looking for be first. You understand? High Voltage came second last year. This year we're looking for first place position. We're coming with a bang this year. We're coming with politics this year. It's all about the politics. All the political parties from 1950 to present day. The very first political party, which is the 8th Army of Liberation, to the actual last party, which is DRP. You know, every single party we have. So wherever you feel comfortable in, whatever color you may like, you know, we have it here.
Noting that while early registration is usually slow, Collis says he is not deterred as he is confident that persons will make High Voltage their carnival mass band of choice.
We're building the mass. We're hoping that people come. If you look around, you can see mass is already up, going, building, and ready for the patrons. If mass was tomorrow, would have been 80% finished.
Collis further urged all revelers to come out and support the High Voltage Mass Band as they aim for the top spot in the 2017 Carnival Band of the Year title.
Those party lovers, all of whether it's Labour or NDP, because those are the two rival parties right now in St. Vincent, and we have them here. You know, come and play with your section. The rest of them saying all inclusive, front line, back line, we have no line. We are VIP, everybody is VIP. This year in our presentation, free Monday t-shirt.
As they prime up to take the top spots in this year's Band of the Year competition, Metrosynth High Voltage urges everyone to come out and have fun this Carnival Tuesday. Nikita Tony reporting for Carnival Beat.